弟兄姐妹大家平安。
Peace be with all the brothers and sisters.
感谢主的恩典，那我们可以在安息日、圣日聚集在教会来敬拜神。
And so thank God on this holy Sabbath day we can congregate together to worship God.
我们照着主的吩咐我们把这一天分别为圣主的应许就要实现在我们的身上。
And so according to the commandments of God, we set this day aside as holy, and then the blessings, the promises of God will come upon us.
愿我们都能够在今天得到肉体上的安息心灵上的安息。
And so may all of us find rest physically as well as spiritually.
小弟现在奉主耶稣圣名跟大家来查考苦难的迷思。
And so in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I will share about the myth of tribulation.
我们从星期四开始教会的读经就是从8月1号我们就读约伯记。
And so since Thursday, August 1st, we have our Bible reading schedule is of Job.
约伯记这本书就是在圣经里面最特殊的。
And the book of Job is the most unique in the whole Bible.
因为他其实在描述苦难的同时他让我们认识我们整个人生以及整个神的创造。
And so it is not only a study of tribulation, but a study of our lives as well as the entire world.
那约伯记这本书有许多的道理是值得我们去深思的。
And so there are many teachings in the book of Job that is worthy for us to learn and meditate upon.
一共有42章，所以我们用1个多月的时间来学习约伯记。
And since there are 42 chapters in the book of Job, and so we will spend over a month studying the book of Job.
当我们用心读完之后，
And so after we have studied it thoroughly,
我们一定会对苦难有不同的看法。
we will have a different perspective of tribulation.
我们会对人更认识。
We will have a better understanding of
我
God.
们会对灵界所发生的事情更有概念。
We will have a different, another deeper, profound concept of the spiritual realm.
那我们会看到我们人的希望，
And we will see the hope of man
看到神的慈爱，
and the loving mercy of God.
然后看到我们应该要怎样过日子。
And we will see how we ought to spend our days.
在约伯记一开始的时候他只交代了有一个人叫约伯。
And so in the book of Job, the beginning, it talks about a man named Job.
他是住在乌斯地。
He lived in the land of Uz.
那这个人很特别，他说完全正直，敬畏神，远离恶事。
And so this man was very special in that he was blameless and upright.
在神学领域里面有很多不同的说法，他们在推测这到底是什么时代，到底是谁写的他的目的在哪里？
And so in theology, there are many different thoughts of when this Job existed, what generation, and what kind of world he lived in.
到底是作者是谁？
Who is the author?
有很多不同的理论。
And so there are many different theories.
但是我们其实读圣经我们要看的是，现在这本书写成了，我们众人在读，我们到底能够读到什么样的教训是最重要的。
But what actually is more important is that when we study the book nowadays, what kind of teachings can we pick up from our studies?
神到底在跟我们讲什么道理？
And what is the teaching that God is trying to give us?
所以让这些争论留给这些在做研究的人去伤脑筋就好。
And so we'll let the researchers ponder and fret over the theories of.
因为约伯记是圣经少数极简，很难去确定说到底是谁写的就是作者到底是谁的书简之一。
Because Job is one of the few books in which the author is not known.
那可是对这个人物，圣经里面去给我们一些线索。对这个约伯这个人。
And so there are some descriptions and some clues of who this Job is.
因为他特别说他是住在乌斯地。
Because it is mentioned that he lived in the land of Uz.
我们现在看创世纪22章。
We look at Genesis chapter 22.
创世纪22章。
Genesis chapter 22.
第20节。
Verse 20.
这是亚伯拉罕献以撒的故事。
And so this is the story of Abraham when he was about to offer Isaac.
创世纪22章的第20节。
So Genesis chapter 22 verse 20.
请读20节读到第28 3节。
So verses 20 to 23. Verse 20. Now it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Indeed, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. 21. Huz his firstborn, Buz his brother, Chemil the father of Aram. 22. Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jilbath, and Bethuel. Verse 23, and Bethuel begot Rebekah. And these 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother.
好，在这里就讲到这个亚伯拉罕他的这个家族。
And so it talks about the family here of Abraham.
那他的兄弟拿赫啊，亚伯拉罕的兄弟拿赫，他的长子叫做乌斯。
And so the firstborn of Abraham's brother Nahor is his name is Huz.
哦，那这个名字是一个地名是一个人名，但很有可能也是后来成为地名。
And so this name Huz, of course, is his name, but it may have become the name of the place
因为
later.
过去我们在看创世纪的时候，有许多的例子，他们都是人生在这个地方他取了一个名字，后来这个地点就叫做用那个人名来命名地名。
And so there are times where, in the ancient times, where someone was born in a place, and then because they were given a name, and so the land also, this name of the person was given to the land.
那我们知道，亚伯拉罕是挪亚的子孙闪的后代。
And so we know Abraham is the descendant of Noah, the descendant of Shem.
那所以在创世纪第10章里面，我们会看到他那个家谱。
And so in Genesis chapter 10, we see the genealogy of Abraham.
那我们现在先看一下约利米书25章。
If we first turn to Jeremiah chapter 25.
约利米书25章。
Jeremiah chapter 25.
25章，我们请看第20节。
Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 20.
25章20节，请读。
Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 20. All the mixed multitude, all the kings of the land of Uz, all the kings of the land of the Philistines, namely Ashkelon, Gaza, Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod.
好，你看这里特别提到说，这个杂族的人民和乌斯地的诸王所以后来这个地方他们成了一个国度。
And so here we see all the mixed multitude, all the kings of the land of Uz, and so it became a nation.
那他这里跟埃及的王、非利士的王这些一起，这个以东、摩押、亚门一起列出来的。
And so this place, these nations are listed with Egypt, Ammon, and Moab.
所以这个乌斯地这个应该是在迦南地的东边或南边的地方是一个国度。
And so the land of Uz may be a kingdom about east or south of the land of Canaan.
那这个在这个地的这里面有一个人叫做约伯。
And so in the land of Uz, there existed a person named Job.
所以我如果看创世纪这样的联系呢，约伯的时代应该跟亚伯拉罕差不了多远。
And so if we look at the timeline, we see that Job is around the same generation as Abraham.
应该是因为是亚伯拉罕的兄弟的儿子嘛，乌斯嘛。
Because he is from the land of Abraham's brother's son.
所以我们会看到说，他这个时代其实是至少如果我们按这样了解，离我们现在应该是3-4千年的人物了。
And so if we have this timeline as a concept, so it's about 3,000, 4,000 years before us.
那在这么古代的时代，这个远古的时代里面，就有一个人，他是非常的敬畏神。
And so in this ancient place, there was a man who was who feared God.
那个时代因为早在是比神将律法颁给他的百姓的时代更早以前的。
And so this time was earlier, was before God had given the Israelites His commandments.
我们看到的是，这个如果以圣经的观点来说，约伯应该是一个外邦人。
And so, according to this concept, then Job should be considered Gentile
因为他不是从亚伯拉罕的子孙而来，
because he is not of the descendants of
就是
Abraham.
说他不是亚伯拉罕这个系统的，
And so, which is not to say he is not of the bloodline of
他
Abraham.
是住在乌斯地，他不是住在迦南地的。
He is an inhabitant of the land of Uz. He is not inhabitant of Canaan.
所以他是外邦人住在外邦地，
He is a Gentile living in a foreign land.
可是他仍然可以非常的敬畏神，远离恶事，很正直
And so yet he was still blameless and upright, and he feared God.
那他这个人，他对神的敬畏，不但是他自己，他更把它扩张到他的家庭、他的儿女身上。
And so this uprightness was not only limited to himself, but he extended it to his children.
所以让我们看到说，其实真的神把敬畏神的这个心放在人每一个人的心里了。
And so we see from here that God puts the fear of God in the hearts of man.
我们人是被神所造的，
Man is created by
神
God.
把良心放在我们的每一个人心里。
That God has put a conscience inside of all
我
man.
们其实很自然的会敬拜、崇拜那个造我们的神。
And it is innately natural to us that we would worship the God who has created
那
us.
在这个约伯记一开头的时候，他就让我们了解约伯的背景。
And so in the very beginning of the book of Job, we understand the background of Job.
他很富足，生活过得非常的美好。
He's very wealthy and he had a very good lifestyle.
那他也非常的谨慎过每一天的日子。
And he lived a very careful life.
我们看约伯的生活，就是从第一章第一节到第5节，这是他的这个序言。
And so we can see how Job lived his life from verses 1 through 5.
那他特别提到说，他在东方人当中是自大，所以这个乌斯地在迦南地的东边。
And so it says that he was the greatest of all the people of the east. And so the land of Uz is east of the land of Canaan.
那他就是当时候是非常的兴旺的。
And so he was very wealthy.
那他的儿子他有3个女儿，7个儿子。
He had 7 sons and 3 daughters.
那这10个儿女嘛，他们都是非常的和睦融洽的。
And these 10 children were very close and lived in harmony with one
所以
another.
第4节就描述他们儿子们按着日子各在自己的家里摆筵席，然后请他们的女儿一起来参加。
And so verse 4 talks about how his sons would, at the appointed day, hold feasts in their houses and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them.
那表示说，你看他们应该是各自都有他们自己的家庭，那现在他们定期的都聚在一起吃喝快乐。
Which is, we can say that they all have their own individual families, and they all live very close and settled very close to one another and eat together.
那这个能够一起吃喝这个要有同样的心，这个是不容易的。
And so to eat and drink requires to have the same heart, which is not very easy.
也表示说他们这个手足之间他互相来往都很密切。
Which is to say that in all their interactions, they were very close to one another.
像圣经所说的诗篇说看到弟兄和睦同居是何等的善，何等的美呢？
And so in Psalms it writes how wonderful it is when brothers dwell together in unity.
但是在吃喝快乐之间，很有可能心会放纵。
And when eating and drinking, though, sometimes you can give into your desires.
所以第5节就描述他这个做父亲的，他对儿女他们的这个定期的聚餐，他有一个很谨慎的想法。
And so in verse 5, it talks about how Job, as a father, how he treated, how the careful thinking he had towards his children feasting towards each other.
第5节就說，因為他怕他的兒女在這個宴樂當中犯罪，然後心中離棄神。
And so Job's fear was that his children would have sinned and cursed God in their hearts.
那他這個做父親的，他怎麼去關心他的兒女呢？
And so how did Job, as a father, take care for his children?
他並沒有去跟他們這樣子囉嗦做什麼？
He did not nag his children.
因為那兒女都長大了，你做父親的，你去跟兒女囉嗦，討人厭。
Because if as you have adult children and you nag them, then this is annoying.
因為這些兒女已經不再是小孩。
Because his children are no longer just children anymore.
但是 对敬畏神的事情，他做父亲的，他毕竟还了解，在神面前应该要怎么样持守这个对神的敬畏。
But as one who feared God, he still had a thought and a standard on how his children ought to fear God.
他很在意他们内心要怎么样尊重神。
He cared very much for how much they feared God in their hearts.
他很了解，在宴乐当中，人很有可能会说错话，会做错事。
And he understood that in the midst of feasting, eating and drinking, that someone could say something wrong or do something wrong.
他做父亲的，他要为他的儿女祈求神能够赦免他们的错，能够保守他们在神里面的正直。
So as a father, he prayed, asked God to keep their faith and to keep their deeds as fearful to God.
那结果第5节我们就看到他这个做父亲的，他每次的儿女一聚餐之后，他就打发人叫他们要自洁。
And so every time the children gathered together to feast, he would send and sanctify them.
然后他自己，所以他通知他的儿女要反省，如果犯错的要洁净自己，要认错。
And so he would remind them that if think upon themselves that if they have done anything wrong, they need to correct themselves and
这叫做
sanctify
父亲的
themselves.
叮咛，这是父亲的叮咛吩咐。
And this is the command of the father.
父亲特别提醒他们说，你要这样做。
And so the father especially reminded them, you must do this.
那这个儿女他们一定会听他的父亲这样做的。
And so as children, they would listen to their father.
那这个父亲的他的对儿女的关爱，并不是只有停在这里而已。
But the love of a father does not just stop here.
圣经特别记载，接下去这做父亲的清早起来，他就按着他们的数目献燔祭来为他们赎罪。
So verse 5 says that he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all.
你看，这个时候他做父亲的，他用献祭祈求神赦免的这个方式来表达他对儿女的关心。
And so we see that this father, he used burnt offerings as a way to show his concern for his children.
那从这个约伯在献燔祭这件事情，我们也看出来，他这个时代是在神设立祭司制度之前的。
And so when we see that Job offered burnt offerings, this is the time that we can tell that this is the time before there were priests.
就好像亚伯拉罕他到了迦南地，他每到一个地方，他也一样献燔祭来感谢神来跟神亲近。
And so likewise, we see Abraham wherever he went, he offered a burnt offering to give thanks to God.
以我们现在的角度来说，这个叫做在那个时候万民祭司的时代，每一个人都可以借着献祭来亲近神，来祈求神的恩典或赦免。
And so at this time, everybody was a priest for themselves, that they could offer up offerings for themselves.
那他们所献的祭，神也悦纳。
And then their burnt offerings were also accepted by God.
所以这个间接让我们看到他是在什么样的时代存在过的人。
And so from this description, we can see where, in which generation he lived in.
那圣经特别说，约伯常常这样做的。
And then the Bible says that Job would often do this.
他这个关心儿女的事情，不是只有一次而已。
He did not only care for his children one
而是他
time.
时常都会想到他儿女是不是能够很敬畏神，在生活上很谨守，不会做错事来惹神生气。
And so he wanted to make sure in regular life that his children were being vigilant in their faith and did not do anything wrong.
那这个就是约伯他当时候的生活跟他的信仰。
This is the life of Job and also his faith.
那这样的一个人，其实神似乎给他很大的很多的财富。
And so this kind of man was very blessed by God in wealth.
第3节特别在描述他是多富有。
And verse 3 records how wealthy he was.
以前的人，他们不像我们现在说，我们有多少钞票，有多少数目。
It's not like nowadays where we talk about how many bills or how much cash we have.
我们现在的人看我多富有，是说你有多少存款，你有多少股票，你有多少什么，反正你就是有什么资源可以用。
And so nowadays, of course, when we talk about how wealthy someone is, we talk about their savings and then their stocks or their assets.
以前的富有就是看你有多少牲口。
So back then, their wealth was based on how much possessions they had.
因为这些动物啊，它有很多价值，它可以让你吃喝，然后又可以让你可以穿所有的财富都跟这些牲畜有关系的。
And so, because of his status, he could give you anything you wanted to eat, drink, or even wear. And so, all wealth was based upon how much animals he had.
所以特别强调他事实上是非常尊大的。
And so, the Bible emphasized that he was the greatest of all
可是
people.
这样的一个很富有的人，但是他却是也非常敬畏神，
Even though he was so wealthy, he still feared God.
他的家庭也非常的和乐。
And so, there was much joy in his family.
所以让我们看到，其实神对财富本身，他并没有说富有人就会骄傲，富有人就会家庭的孩子就会争权夺利，也没有。
And so we see how God views wealth is that a person who's wealthy does not necessarily mean he is very proud or that his children do not get along.
完全是看我们内心对神是怎么敬畏的。
But it is entirely based on our hearts whether or not we fear
我们
God,
是有没有真的认识神？
whether we truly know God.
那从约伯记第1章，我们会看到，其实约伯的这一切都是神赏赐的。
And so from chapter 1 we see everything that he had was given to him by God.
因为后来是从第6节以后，这是撒旦他跟神的一个对话。
And so starting from verse 6 and on, there is a conversation between God and Satan.
那他就第10节，我们如果读第10节就看到，
And if we look at verse 10, we see
从撒旦的观点来看，他观察约伯说这一切都是神的祝福，而不是约伯自己能力创造出来的。
that Satan, from verse 10, we see that Satan's perspective is that everything that Job had was given to him by God, not by his own hand.
请读第10节。
Verse 10, Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land.
你看他这里特别提到说，其实人能够拥有这么多的财富，这样的一个家庭生活，都是神的保守。
And so all the wealth that he has and the joyfulness he has in his family is only because of the blessings of God.
就好像神四面圈上篱笆，把他们保护住，
It is as if God had made a hedge around him to protect him.
然后又祝福他，让他手上所做的都顺利。
And that God has blessed the work of his hands.
那结果呢？他的家产就增多了，他的财富就累积了。
And so his possessions have increased.
所以其实我们看到这个地方，可以非常的清楚，我们今天所有的一切，我们包括我们的财富、我们的能力，我们所拥有的，都是要依赖神，是神祝福才是真的。
And so from this, we see that everything that we have, all our possessions and our abilities, it is a blessing from God.
包括我们的婚姻家庭
From our marriage and to our family,
包括我们这整个生命能够很平安喜乐，其实都是从神来的。
and to our entire lives, whether we live in joy, all of this comes from God.
那其实就是一开始他强调了，这个约伯这个人，他正直，他敬畏神，他远离恶事。
And so right away in the beginning, we see that Job was upright, who feared God and shunned evil.
那所以当一个人愿意敬畏神，他就会远离恶事，他会知道说这个事情神不喜悦。
And so we see that someone who fears God naturally knows to shun evil. He knows what God does not approve
那
of.
他都会谨守他的生活，
And so he'll be very vigilant about his
他会
life.
害怕去让神生气，
He would be afraid to let God be angered.
那甚至会去关心到他的子女。
And he would also care for his own
所以
children.
最后他希望他的整个家庭都能够在这个神里面。
And that he would care for his entire household to be part of God.
那在旧约圣经里面，曾经把约伯这样的一个生活，他的整个这个观念，把它列作义人。
And so in the Old Testament, it summarizes Job's entire life as a righteous man.
因为真的，如果一个人能够这样做，你说，你看他的生活一定会越来越圣洁，他们很不容易会去犯错的。
So if someone is able to live this life, then they would become more and more holy. They would not commit sins.
好，我们如果看圣经的旁证，就知道看以西结书，
If we look at the book of Ezekiel,
以西结书第14章，
Ezekiel chapter 14,
因为这个是在圣经里面曾经这样子印证约伯他是什么样的人。
and so this describes and proves what kind of person that Job was.
我们如果看第14节，
If we look at Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 14.
来，请读14节。
Verse 14. Even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they would deliver only themselves by their righteousness, says the Lord God.
这以西结14章，其实在它前面的上文是说，如果一个国犯罪干犯我，我就要责打他们了。
And so the context of Ezekiel chapter 14 says that if any nation rebels against God, then God would punish them.
那神就让他们遇到饥荒，
That God would send famine towards their
所以他
land,
们就受苦。
and they would suffer.
但是他就特别说14节说，这个国度如果有挪亚、但以理跟约伯这3个人，他们也只能够因为他们自己的义救自己的性命啊，但是这个国度本身还是会受到神的刑罚。
And then the Bible especially inserts verse 14 that even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they would only deliver themselves by their righteousness, yet the rest of the nation would still be punished by God.
好，那再看第16节，
We look at verse 16. Verse 16, even though these three men were in it, as I live, says the Lord God, they would deliver neither sons nor daughters, only they would be delivered, and the land would be desolate.
因为在这里神兴起的另外一个刑罚就是恶兽会出现吞吃人。
And so here God would raise up another punishment, which is wild beasts to devour the people.
像约伯、挪亚、但以理这样的义人，他说也只能救自己，连他们的儿女都不能够，因为儿女要自己成为义人才有可能。
And so the Bible emphasizes that only Noah, Daniel, and Job would save themselves by their own righteousness. They would not even be able to save their sons or daughters.
那这个就是圣经里面的印证约伯他的义。
And so this proves the righteousness of God of Job.
那我们也看到说，这个人是真的存在过的人物。
And so this proves that there really did exist such a person.
所以约伯记里面的这些人物，其实都历史上曾经出现过的真实的人的。
And so the characters that are described in the book of Job have really existed before
包
in
括
history.
约伯记里面所记载他的3个朋友，从各地方相约而来，要来安慰约伯。
And including the three friends of Job who came from different places to come and to comfort Job.
第32章里面讲的那个年轻人以利户，也是知道他是从哪里来，他是谁的儿子，是真的人物。
And so especially Elihu, who was the young man who came, was also a true person.
所以我们要了解这个故事不是虚构的。
So we should know that this is not a fantasy, a
在
fairy tale.
约伯记里面所看到这些都是曾经发生过的事实。
And so the events of the book of Job truly did occur.
那在约伯记当中，我们看到了一个非常重要的一个道理，
And so throughout the book of Job, we see an important teaching
就是我们要能够了解苦难。
that we need to suffer tribulation.
所以约伯记的主题就是他让我们去思考义人为何会受苦。
And so the book of Job teaches us a concept that even the righteous will suffer
那
tribulations.
义人受苦的同时，他会得到什么样的认知？
And so if the righteous suffer, what kind of acknowledgement will they have?
他会这样一卷书，让我们看到灵界里面所发生过的事，是我们人可能看不到的。
And so this book also records the events that happen in the spiritual realm, which man cannot see.
那让我们看到我们人的极限，我们人很容易用我们自己的观点去判断一件事情。
And then this also talks about the limitations of man, that we often use our own concepts to make a judgment of events.
所以其实约伯记可以让我们更认识神，
And so the book of Job helps us to have a better understanding of God,
让我们更认识人，
a better understanding of man,
让我们更认识天使跟魔鬼。
also a better understanding of angels and devil.
这些天使魔鬼他们的能力限制在哪里？他们是有极限性的。
And even angels and demons have their own limitations.
如果神没有同意，神如果给他设了一个界限，他们是永远不能跨过的。
And so if God does not approve, if God sets a boundary for them, they cannot overstep the boundary
但是我们也看
themselves.
到这个魔鬼是非常的残忍。
But we see how extreme and evil Satan is.
但是人是非常脆弱的。
And we see how weak man is,
那神是非常慈爱的，
and how merciful God is.
那神也是非常他是非常有智慧，他要知道怎么样训练他所爱的人。
And how much wisdom God has in order to train and to discipline those he loves.
那在约伯记里面让我们看到什么叫做有价值的人生观。
And so through the book of Job, it teaches us what kind of life has value.
那借着这个义人约伯他的生活，他所呈现的，让我们知道说，我们作为一个人，我们应该怎么样过日子，才能够真正得到神的喜悦。
And so throughout the events of Job, it tells us how we ought to live in our lives in which we gain the favor of
那
God.
可是这一切最后都会在这个约伯的苦难当中，他跟他的朋友的对话里面，呈现出他自己内心里面许多的不平。
And so through the conversations that he has with his three friends, we see the uneasiness that Job has in his heart.
因为他在这个受苦当中，
Because in the midst of
有些
suffering,
道理他想不懂
there are some things that he cannot reconcile.
那他不能够明白他怎么会这样子，
He cannot understand why things are the way they
他一
are.
直想要知道原因在哪里。
He wants to understand what is the reason
可是
for
到
it.
最后，神亲自跟他对话。
But in the end, God himself spoke to Job.
可是其实神并没有跟他讲原因。
God never explained to Job the real reason.
在约伯记里面，我们看他的段落，
And so we see through the book of Job,
第一章跟第二章，这个是用故事型的描述，我们一看都知道，我们一读就知道这故事怎么一回事。
chapters 1 and 2 of Job is in a story form, so we read it and we can understand what is going on.
那就说明约伯从自大非常富足，到最后他的苦难是何等的深，他一夜之间失去一切。
And so Job went from being the greatest and very wealthy, and then in a moment he lost everything, and so his suffering was
他
so
这么敬
great.
畏神，但是神竟然允许撒旦对他做了这一切事情。
And so even though he feared God, God allowed Satan to do all this to him.
所以
God allowed Satan to do all this
前
to
面
him.
2章这个就是故事型的，在说明约伯他所遭遇的苦难。
And so the first 2 chapters are written in story formats to let us understand how God let Job suffer.
从第3章一直到第42章第6节，都是用诗歌的形态写的。
And then so starting from chapter 3 all the way to chapter 42, verse 6, it is all written in psalm format.
所以他是用诗歌，要记住，他是诗歌像诗篇一样的。
It is a poem format written like the book of Psalms.
一直到最后42章的第7节以后到结束，又回到像散文一样，又像讲故事，让我们了解一下这个最后它的结局是如何。
And then in chapter 42, starting from verse 7 to the end, we see it returns back to a story format to let us know the conclusion of the story.
那所以我们现在先看最后约伯记42章
And so let's jump to the conclusion. Let's look at Job chapter 42,
第16节，
verse 16.
请读16节。
Job chapter 42, verse 16. After this, Job lived 140 years and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations.
17，
17. So Job died old and full of days.
好，他经过了这个试验之后，他又活了140年，看到他的子孙第4代。
And so after this tribulation, Job lived another 140 years and saw his descendants to the 4th
如
generation.
果我们用创世纪的家谱，他这个能够活多久的年代来看，他的这个年代，他的这个寿命就是跟亚伯兰那个时代是一样的。
And so if we look at the timeline, so back in Genesis, if we look at the life expectancy, Job is around the same time, same generation as Abraham.
我们知道，在挪亚从亚当到挪亚那个时代，人都活了700-800岁，甚至900多岁。
From the time of Adam to Noah, people lived to about 700-800 years and maybe even 900 years.
但是到洪水之后，
But after the
人
flood,
的寿命就越来越短。
the life expectancy of man started to decrease.
那短到亚伯兰那个时代，
And then all the way to the time of
就
Abraham,
大概200岁左右了。
they only lived to about 200 years old.
所以这个时候，约伯的那个寿命，就让我们看到他就是在那个时代里面的人物了。
And so from the life span of Job, we see that he lived around that time.
那从摩西以后，我们就看到人的寿命就很少超过120岁了。
And then starting from the time of Moses, people did not live beyond 120 years old.
最后约伯他日子满足，他非常完满的结束他的人生。
And so Job, when he died, he was full of days and lived an abundant life.
他10个儿女失去了，神又赐给他另外10个儿女，又得到一个幸福美满的家庭。
And so he lost his first 10 children, and then God gave him another 10 children, and so he had a very abundant life.
所以这个是整个故事。
And so this is the entire story.
那这当中，我们从第3章以后，我们看到第2章的后面，我们看到约伯的3个朋友，他们知道约伯的这个苦难的时候，他们从各地方来看望他。
And then, so starting from Job chapter 2, we see the 3 friends of Job, they come from far away to see him.
那他们看望他，一看到约伯的情况，他们一句话都说不出来，他们放声大哭跟着约伯这样子相对而坐7天7夜，一句话都说不出来。
And so, when these 3 friends came from afar, they came to comfort him, but when they saw him, they all lifted up their voices and wept. And they sat down with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word.
第2章第11节特别在强调说，他们看到约伯的遭遇之后，他们为他悲伤，想要安慰他的。
And so, in verse 11, when these 3 friends heard of his adversity, they came to mourn with him and comfort him.
那这个时候，约伯整个人都变形了，他们根本认不出约伯来了。
And but at this point, Job had already his physical appearance had changed, and they could not even recognize him.
所以最后他们不知道怎么安慰约伯，就跟他在那边坐7天7夜，然后跟他一起坐在地上，因为约伯是坐在炉灰当中，他们就坐在地上，然后跟他这样子相对而视，这样子7天7夜，因为不知道说什么才有办法安慰他。
And so when they came, they saw him, sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one said anything because Job was sitting in dust by himself, and so they sat with him.
那因为约伯极其痛苦，
And because Job was going through so much
好
suffering.
了，这么有爱心、有同情心的3个朋友，他们来看望约伯之后，他们带来什么结果呢？
And so these 3 friends came out of a heart of compassion for Job, and yet after they saw Job, what happened?
第3章以后一直到第31章，
So
这一段落就是约伯跟他这3个朋友所发生的3个回合的对话辩论。
So chapter 3 all the way to chapter 31, it talks about the dialogue and the debate between Job and his 3 friends.
那他们这3个朋友就很好心的，一直要跟约伯分析说，到底你为什么受苦？你要想一想，到底是哪里做错了。
And so out of the goodness of their hearts, his 3 friends wanted to ask Job and to understand, so saying, what did you do? Why did you suffer so much? What did you do?
因为他们从他的逻辑里面，他想说，这个罪一定是犯罪才会受苦，不然不会这样子。因为他认为神绝对不会让义人白白受苦。
Because according to their reasoning, Job must have done something wrong. He must have sinned in order to incur the wrath of God.
结果他们这个3个朋友这么好心的要跟他分析原因，最后让约伯更加痛苦。
And so God would not let him suffer. According to their logic, God would not let him suffer needlessly. But even though they try to comfort Job,
好，所以在这个对话当中，约伯他的心越来越不平静。
so they made things worse, and so Job did not have peace in his heart.
他本来还没有那么心里面还没有这样子波涛汹涌，跟朋友一讲完之后，他实在是没有办法忍住了。
And so after Job was talking to his friends, finally he could not hold himself back any longer.
好，那这段对话其实有很多道理，我们要慢慢学习。
And so throughout this conversation, there are many teachings for us to learn.
那从32章以后到37章，
So starting from chapter 32 to 37,
这是另外一个年轻人以利户，他从头到尾看到这整个对话过程，然后之后他最后发言。
And so there was a young man named Elihu who he stood by as a bystander watching and witnessing everything that happened.
但在他这个发言当中，也就是说，在这个整个观察的过程里，他发现约伯的问题。
And then so throughout the course of his observation, he realized what Job's problem
他
was.
就提出了4篇很重要的论述。
And so he talked about 4 different main teachings.
那这个论述就是他的观点，他要提醒约伯，他有一些错误，他要自己想想看，
And so these 4 concepts he wanted Job to understand.
就是要特别提醒他，我们的神是怎么样的神。
He wanted to remind Job what kind of God God is.
那从32章到37章，当以利户在讲话的时候，约伯一句话都没有讲，他就静静的听这个年轻人在讲。
And so throughout chapter 32 to 37, Job just does not say anything, and he listens to what this young man says.
那等到这个以利户讲完之后，第38章开始就是神出声音了。
And so in chapter 38, after Elihu has done speaking, then God starts to speak.
那神他跟约伯有2次的提问
And so there are 2 sections of God questioning Job.
神其实就问了约伯许多问题，
And so God asked Job many questions.
所以从38章到第41章，
So from chapter 38 to 41,
神用许多约伯他可以理解的这个他所观察过的现象，然后让约伯想想看。
and so God uses many of the events that Job can understand to question Job.
到最后，约伯他说他不用再问了。
And then Job, in the end, says there's no need to question any
他
further.
最后说了一句话，
And so, in the end, he says one phrase.
42章的第5节，
Chapter 42, verse
他说：“
5.
我从前风闻有你，但是我现在亲眼看到你。
He says, I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes sees you.
我过去所讲的话，我自己都不知道在讲什么，所以求你赦免我。
That in the past I did not know what I was saying, so please forgive me. ”
那这个时候，其实约伯他已经不再需要向神要求什么答案了。
And so at this point, Job no longer requires an answer from God.
那神也没有跟约伯说到底他为什么会受苦。
And God never fully explains to Job why he suffered.
其实从头到尾，约伯都不知道他到底为什么会这样子。
And so from beginning to end, Job never understood why he suffered.
可是，在这个苦难的过程当中，约伯他已经跟受苦之前不一样了。
But throughout the course of suffering, Job ends up very different from when he first started.
他真的像他自己所说的，经过这个熬炼之后，他像精金一样那么纯了。
That through this training, he is refined like fire.
我们看约伯记第23章，
And if we look at Job chapter 23,
23章哈，
Job chapter 23.
23章的第10节，
Job chapter 23, verse 10.
请读。
Chapter 23, verse 10. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold.
就是说，他知道神在熬炼他，他经过这个熬炼之后，他会像精金这样子纯。
And so Job knows that God is testing him, that he shall come forth as gold.
后来真的约伯像精金这么样的纯全。
And so truly, at the end, Job was refined like gold.
神并没有跟他讲原因，
God never gave him the
他本
reasoning.
来一直想要知道原因，后来他也不需要再知道了。
Job wanted to know the reason, but he never. Then he did not ask
他对神有一
anymore.
个非常重要的认知，
And so he had a deep, profound understanding of God.
他的认知是因为从苦难而来。
And this understanding came from suffering.
那他这个认知就是在第42章所说的，
And so this understanding is recorded in chapter 42.
这是约伯记的重点。
And this is the main point of Job.
看约伯记42章
Job chapter 42,
第1节，
verse 1.
第1节跟到第3节。
Job chapter 42, verses 1 through 3. Verse 1. Then Job answered the Lord and said, 2. I know that you can do everything and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. 3. You ask, who is this who hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I do not understand, things too wonderful for me which I did not know.
约伯他跟神说：“我知道你万事都能做。
And so Job says that I know that you can do everything,
神是绝对的权柄，
that God has almighty authority.
他要做什么
almighty
事，
authority.
他不需要经过人的同意。
And so whatever he desires to do, he does not need anyone's
他
approval.
是全能的，
He is almighty.
他做了，神既然做了，神就有办法解决。
And so if God desires to do it, then he can resolve to do it.
这是我们对神认识的一个提升。我们要很认识我们所敬拜的神，他是谁。
And so we need to have this understanding of who the God we worship is.
那第三节他说，谁能够用无知的言语使你的旨意隐藏呢？
And so in verse 3, it says, Who is this who hides counsel without knowledge?
你的旨意不可以拦阻，不能被拦阻的。
That your will cannot be hidden.
所以神他所要做的事情一定会成就。
And so what God desires to do, he will fulfill.
所以人最好就是顺服神的旨意。
And so the best that man can do is to submit to the will of God.
顺服当中就得福。
And so that through the process of submission, you will be
在
blessed.
顺服当中，我们会更认识我们这个主是多么美好。
And through the process of submission, we can understand how wonderful our God is.
所以约伯他对神的认知，其实是从苦难而来。
And so the understanding that Job has of God comes through suffering.
那他也看到他自己的缺点，
And he also sees his own
他跟朋
weaknesses.
友这个对话当中，
Through
他的
his,
内心的这个思维慢慢浮现出来。
and so through his dialogue with his friends, the deep thoughts of his heart reveal itself.
好，所以我们看约伯记的整个结构，
And so when we see the conclusion of Job,
第一章和第二章，
so if we look at the structure of
这
Job,
这是
chapters
故
1 and
事
2,
性的描述这整个事件为什么要进入这个苦难的这些原因。
so chapters 1 and 2 is a story format which explains everything.
这个原因我们现在很知道，但是约伯他自己本身不知道。
Of course, now when we read the story of Job, we understand why, the reason he suffers.
3到31章就是约伯跟他朋友的对话。
But Job himself does not understand. But starting from chapter 33 to 31, Job is conversing with his friends.
32到37就是以利户他的论述。
Chapters 32 to 37 is the speech given by Elihu.
38到最后就是神对约伯的回答
And so
的
chapters
问题了。
38 to the end is where God questions Job.
那最后42章我们看到一个约伯他的结局。
And then chapter 42 talks about the conclusion of Job's
那我
life.
们要从这一段里面这几章，其实有一些人物他们对苦难的看法，很有可能就是我们的看法。
And so as we read the book of Job, many of the people, the characters' concept of suffering may be our concept of
在
suffering.
这一本书里面有6种人物，他对苦难有6种看法。
There are 6 different perspectives on tribulation throughout the book of Job.
那我们要很清楚哪一个是错，
And
哪一个是对。
we have to be clear on what is correct and what is wrong.
最开始对苦难的谬见，就是撒旦说的。
And so the first myth of tribulation is spoken by Satan.
我们看第一章，
If we look at chapter 1,
第一章第8节，
Job chapter 1, verse 8.
神问撒旦说：“你曾用心观看我的仆人约伯没有？在地上没有像他这样完全正直，敬畏神、远离恶事。”
Verse 8, Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil?
那这个时候，撒旦就不服气，他跟神回答说：“他敬畏神是有原因的。”
And so Satan is not happy with this, and so he says, Job fears you for a reason,
因为你保护他，你祝福他。
because you have protected him and you blessed him.
今天如果你伸手毁掉他一切所有的，他就当面气绝你。
And so if you stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, he will surely curse you.
好，那结果神就说：“好了，那这样子，他一切所有的都在你手中，你不可以害他哦。但是你可以看你要怎么对待他所拥有的东西。”撒旦很满足就走了。
And so God says to Satan that, Behold, all that he has is in your hand, only do not lay a hand on his person. And so Satan was satisfied to go and do this.
从这一段我们看到，撒旦认为说，苦难来到会让人当面离弃神。
And so Satan's concept is that when tribulation comes, man will immediately curse God and leave God.
因为他认为说，人只有在领受福气的时候才会敬拜神， 人如果遭遇灾难，他们就离弃神了，这个很自然的。
Because Satan's concept is that man will only worship God if there's blessing, but when the blessings stop, then man will depart from
撒旦也
God.
知道所有的福气都是神给的，
Satan is also clear that blessings come from
所以他
God.
认为说人就是为了得到好处，所以敬拜神。
So he thinks that man only worships God to gain favor, to gain blessings
如
from
果你的福气没
God.
有了，你就不会敬拜神了。
And so if you have no blessings, then you will depart from God.
所以撒旦认为苦难就是让人离弃神的原因。
And so Satan's concept is tribulation causes man to depart from
但
God.
是约伯他证明不是这样子。
But Job proves that this is not correct.
当约伯他遭受苦难的时候，
And so when Job suffers tribulation,
第1章接下去我们就看到撒旦就出手。
and so in chapter 1, we see the work of Satan.
你看他第1章里面描述约伯在一日之间承受4大重大的灾难，是我们没有一个人能够承受住的。
And so we see in chapter 1, Job suffers 4 great tribulations that in one day that none of us could bear.
从14节一直到第19节，
So starting from verse 14 to verse 19,
这是连续4个大灾难的消息。
and so it is consecutive announcements of great
那
tribulations.
这个撒旦也很好心啊，都留一个人来去报告消息。
And so we see Satan just purposely leaves one person, a survivor, to pass this
你说如果
message.
不知道就算了，你知道的时候你就很痛苦。
Because if you did not know, it would not affect you, but knowing is more painful.
连续3次都是他的财富就没有了。
And so 3 consecutive times, it is a loss of all his
第
possessions.
19节，
Verse 19,
狂风来了，他的10个儿女全死了。
and a great wind came, and in an instant, all his children died.
这四个苦难，今天如果其中有一项临到我们，我们可能就倒在地上，就说算了，我不用再活了，
And
我
so
不用再拜神了。
if any of one of these 4 tribulations happened to us, maybe we would just fall flat on our face and say, I give up on God.
就好像10个儿女坐一部飞机，坐上去全部掉下去，10个都死。
If, for example, if 10 children got on a plane and then the plane crashed and all 10 children
真的，
died,
今天这个社会的这个现实也曾经发生过这样的事啊。
and we have seen these kind of events happen in our lives.
这4个灾难来了，你看约伯他怎么想？
And so when these 4 tribulations come, what does Job think in his
第
heart?
20节，
Verse 20,
他撕裂外袍，剃头伏在地下拜。
he tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground
然后
and
他说：“
worshipped.
我赤身出母胎，我也赤身归回。
And he said, Naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return
赏
there.
赐的是神，收取的也是神。
The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away.
神的名是应当称颂，
Blessed be the name of the Lord.
因为他知道他的财富、他的儿女都是神赏赐的。
Because Job understood all his possessions and his children were given to him by
他现
God.
在看到，比如这些48人啊，这些什么强盗来抢他，他不认为说这些，他认为说这些就是神把他的财富把他收取的。
And so all these events, when the Sabians raided him, and all these events where everything was taken away, he knew that these came from God.
所以约伯他并没有想要去报复，
And so Job did not think to take revenge.
他没有想要去把他，因为他可以号召他的资源去找他们算账报仇。
He could have collected those who were still alive and to go and get revenge.
那他的10个儿女都死了，他报仇也没用了。
But his 10 children are dead. Even getting revenge
但
is
是他很清楚
useless.
知道说这些都是神收取的，
But he's very clear in his mind that the Lord has taken
所以
away.
他说神的名应当称颂。
And so he says, Blessed be the name of the Lord.
第22节特别强调说，约伯并不犯罪，
And verse 22 emphasizes that Job did not sin,
他没有以神为愚妄，
nor did he charge God with
他没有
wrong.
认为说神做错事，
He did not think that God did anything wrong.
他相信神很清楚，神一定有他的用意，把他的这些所赏赐的都把他收回去了，
And so
一日之间全收。
he was very clear in his mind that God took back everything in an instant.
好，所以约伯，你看他在这个苦难当中，他站住了。
And so Job, in this moment of suffering, he stands firm.
那到第2章，
And then chapter 2,
这是又有一天呢，
and then another day.
我们不知道他过了多久，
We don't know how much further out.
但是如果是我们的话，
But if it were
我们
us,
如果失去了我们的儿女，
if we lost our
我
children,
们失去了我们的财富，
if we lost our
我们伤
possessions,
心，
we must be very
我们
sorrowful.
非常的舍不得。
We must be reluctant to
我
let
们要
these
经
things
过多
go.
久才有办法恢复，心里才会平静？
How much time would it take for us to recover our peace?
我们不知道他多久了，
We don't know how much time has passed,
但看起来应该不会很久。
but it doesn't seem like it's too long
接下去
after.
那个更进一层的试验又来了。
And then one step further, Satan comes again.
这个苦难是什么？
What is this suffering?
你看这个第2章第3节，
If we look at chapter 2, verse
神
3,
再一次的跟撒旦问了。
then Satan asked God.
第
God asked Satan.
第3节哈，
Verse 3.
中间那里说：“你虽然激动我攻击他，无故的毁灭他，他仍然持守他的纯正。”
And then he adds, and still he holds fast to his integrity, although you incited me against him.
其实这个时候真的无故啊，这是神只是讲了这一句话，就魔鬼就去捣乱了。
And then he adds without cause, and truly it is without cause only because Satan incited
从这
God.
里我们看到撒旦的本质是什么？
And so here we see the nature of Satan.
撒旦的本质就是控告者，
He is the accuser.
他是在控告神的百姓，
He is accusing the
他
people of
看不
God.
得神的百姓好，
He does not desire that the people of God are
所以
well.
撒旦就是抵挡，就是控告。
So Satan is the opposer, the accuser.
那在启示录我们不用再读，你以后只读到就会看到了。
And so we don't, this is all recorded in Revelations.
好了，现在撒旦认为说，第2章第4节，
And so in chapter 2, verse 4,
他说生命最重要，所以人以皮代皮，以肉代肉，所以他失去一切，他自己没事，当然没关系啊，反正财富儿女都身外之物嘛。
and so Satan answers skin for skin. So it doesn't even matter because all of the things that were taken away were
你
external.
若让他肉体受苦，他就当面拒绝你。
But if you cause him to suffer physically, then he will surely
所以
curse
这里
you.
看到这个苦难有2个层面的，
And so we see there are two forms of suffering.
身外之物、儿女这些财物我都失去了。
One is the external, where it is possessions and children
现
taken
在跟
away.
我们的身体受苦了。
But now it's internal, our physical body is
这个
suffering.
肉体的痛有时候是很难承受的。
And the suffering of the body sometimes is very difficult
所
to
以有些人
bear.
他们在这个病痛当中，身体的痛到没办法承受，有些人就想要去自杀了。
And so some people in the midst of physical ailments, they suffer so much that they just want to commit
因为
suicide
他觉得活着比死的还痛苦。
because they feel it is more painful to live than to die.
对约伯来说，
But to Job,
他接下去他全身长毒疮，
and so he had boils throughout his entire body
因为是从魔鬼的击打来的。
because it is the affliction of Satan.
他没有办法，他坐在炉灰当中用瓦片刮身体。
And so he could only take potsherd to scrape
如
himself.
果是我们的话，哇，他这样子，他坐在炉灰当中，不是感染，不是死定了吗？
And so if he's sitting in ashes, of course he must get infection.
那如果以我们现在的观念来说，那他这样子，他怎么可能好？
And so if using our modern day concept, how could he heal?
但是约伯他就是不会死，
But Job will not die.
不管他怎么感染、怎么痒、怎么痛苦，他都不会死，因为神没有让他死。
So no matter the infection or whatever happens, he will not
那
die.
魔鬼也只能够做到这一步。
And so Satan can only do up to this
所以
point.
最后我们看到，生命是神掌握的。
And so in the end, we see that our life is in the hands of
如
God.
果神不让我们死，你死不了的。
If God does not desire us to die, we
再
cannot
怎么样
die.
感染都没事。
No matter how much infection you have.
所以这个时候，你看撒旦的观点就是说，你今天如果你遇到患难，你身体遇到疾病，那你就离弃神了。苦难就是让我们离弃神的。
And so Satan's concept is that if we lose everything, our possessions, and if we also physically suffer, then we will curse God.
好，当圣经第2章特别提到这个约伯的妻子了。
And so Job chapter 2 especially mentions Job's wife.
我们知道，如果儿女有什么事，最伤心的可能是妈妈。
And so we know that if anything happens to the children, the one who is most sorrowful
第
is
1
the mother.
章，他这个做妻子的约伯的妻子，他一句话都没说。
And so in chapter 1, no matter what happens, the wife did not say anything.
到第2章，
And then chapter 2,
其实第1章之所以约伯的妻子没事，是因为这样子的，
and so actually nothing happens to Job's wife, and so she doesn't say anything.
因为在第1章的第12节
And because in chapter 1, verse 12,
啊，第1章的第12节说哈，不可以伸手害他了哈，
and so chapter 1, verse 12 says, only do not lay a hand on his person.
就是不可以害约伯。
And so you cannot harm
在
Job.
神的眼中，约伯跟他妻子2个人是合为一体的。
And so in the eyes of God, Job and his wife are one.
所以这个时候，你看，即使财富没有了，儿女失去了，这个 这个做妻子的他还是非常的坚定。
And so in chapter 1, when the suffering of the loss of possessions and children, we see Job's wife is still firm in her faith.
在神的保护底下，神说不可以动他。
Because under the protection of God, God says, do not lay a hand on this
现在到
person.
第二次的时候，
And then second time,
我们看第2章
and if we in chapter 2,
第6节，
verse 6,
他在你的手中，只要存留他的生命。
behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life.
所以现在他在你的手中，所以包括约伯的妻子，现在也在撒旦的这个工作范围里面了。
And so he is in your hand, so that includes his wife. So Satan also is in control of her
这个时
as
候
well.，
约伯的妻子她看到约伯这样身体受苦，她说什么话？
And so when Job's wife sees Job suffering so much, what does she say?
第9节，他妻子对他说：“你仍然持守你的纯正吗？你弃掉神，死了算了吧。”
Verse 9, then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die.
好，所以在这里我们看到约伯的妻子她对苦难的看法是什么？
And so here we see the wife's perspective of tribulation.
她认为说，如果神不看顾你，你就算了；如果神不看顾你，拜神还干什么？
If God does not protect you, then forget him. There's no point in worshiping
你就不
God.
用坚持了，
Do not hold fast to
因
your
为她知道
integrity.
说这一切都是神从神而来的发生的事嘛。
Because it's very clear to her that everything happened from God.
所以她认为说，苦难如果在这个苦难当中神没有眷顾，那你就可以选择你不用再继续敬拜神了。
Because if throughout this whole thing, if God does not protect you, then there is no point in worshiping him.
但是其实事实不是这样子，
But the reality is not like
在这
this.
个苦难当中，其实神都一直在眷顾。
However, throughout all the tribulation, God is still protecting
如果
him.
没有神眷顾约伯，他早就死了。
If God was not protecting Job, Job would have died
其
earlier.
实神在眷顾的，
But God is protecting
所
Job.
以他的妻子说：“已经到了这个地步了，你还持守你的纯正了。
And so his wife is saying to him, it's already reached to this point. Why do you still hold ” fast?
这是一个非常重要的提醒，
And this is a great reminder.
因为神他知道他在做什么
God knows what he is doing.
啊。我们要能够要了解，在这个苦难当中，神一直都在看顾。
And we have to understand that God was always watching over him.
求主带领我们，
And so may God
让我们
guide
可以
us,
对这个苦难有更深刻的认识。
that we can have a deeper and more profound understanding of
后面还有
tribulation.
许多的信息，我们下午再说。
And there's many more messages afterwards we will discuss in the
现在写唱
afternoon.
诗
So let's all rise up and sing hymn.
28首。
Hymn number 28.